Okay, so we will start with roll call, kind of in the order that people have called in, and I've seen them not necessarily in alphabetical order, so bear with me. Evan Honeyman,
Present.
Michelle Phelan,
Present.
Ted Sanford,
Present.
Liz Gemsky,
Present.
Jay Bombara,
Present.
Sally Hatzenbuehler,
Present.
John Renahan,
Present.
and Jim Calciano. I believe is absent at the moment. I have not seen him in yet, but we've got, you can appoint someone for Jim's,
Sure.
and if you'd like,
Okay.
I'll let
All
you
right.
know if he calls in.
Sure. Let's please appoint. Well, let me call the meeting to order. So good evening, everybody. It's nice to be meeting at 5 p.m. instead of 4 p.m. I hope you all share the same sentiment. I'll now call to order the virtual meeting of the Town of Farmington Historic District Commission for Tuesday, January 18th, 2022 at 5:02 p.m. I'll appoint Ms. Gemsky for Mr. Calciano until he or if he attends tonight's meeting. And before we get started, I'd like to officially welcome our newest regular member, Michelle Phelan. Thank you for your desire to serve the Town of Farmington in the Historic District.
Thank you.
Since Mr. Calciano is absent at the moment, I would ask Ms. Hatzenbuehler if you could please just read the legal notice that is on the screen here.
Evan, Mr. Chairman, can I just interject?
Sure.
I just spoke to Jim. Unfortunately, he will not be able to make it, so we won't be, just so we don't wait for him.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay.
Town of Farmington Historic District Commission. Notice is hereby given that the Farmington Historic District Commission will hold an online public hearing on Tuesday, January 18th, 2022 at 5 p.m. on the following applications. Hartford Baking Company application for temporary certificate of appropriateness to replace front door at 767 Farmington Avenue. Susan and Ted Graham Henley application for temporary certificate of appropriateness to replace windows at 11 Colton Street. David Zip application for temporary certificate of appropriateness to install generator and propane tanks next to detached garage at 24 Mountain Road. Interested parties are encouraged to participate in this online public hearing. The link to this meeting may be found on the Town of Farmington's website at below. A copy of this proposal is on file in the Planning Department at Town Hall, Farmington, Connecticut, and may also be accessed online at below or by calling the Planning Department at 860-675-2325. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 29th day of December, 2021. James Calciano, Secretary, Farmington Historic District Commission.
Thank you, Ms. Hatzenbuehler. Okay, for our first agenda item, we have a continuation from our last regular meeting on December 14, 2021. Hopefully all of the commissioners have had an opportunity to go and view the line. Sorry, am I echoing? I believe Ms. Bartis Early is here. And if you are, can you please state your name and the address you're representing for the record? And then please provide the commission with any updates that you may have on the sign.
Good evening, Commissioners. Home address for Jennifer Bartis Early is 74 South Washington Street, Plainville, and I'm representing the property of the Vault Handcrafted Wellness and Apothecary LLC located at 12 Brickwalk Lane in Farmington. So at our last meeting, I reviewed the dimensions of the sign, the colors, and that it was made of wood with a protective glossy laminate, and there would be no illumination for the sign. Questions arose requesting pictures that were to be provided as seen on the screen. I gave a frontal view and a side view to show that it is a wooden sign. And from the manufacturer, I included the email that was sent back to me to clarify the glossy laminate protective coating that's on there, and it is UV resistant. It's made specifically for wooden outdoor signs. It is a UV liquid coating, and it has anti-graffiti properties.
Okay, thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
we'll open it up to questions and comments from the commissioners. And let's first start with Ms. Hatzenbuehler.
I have no questions. My only comment is the sign looks good, and you've answered the questions that were initially asked by some of the commissioners before, so it looks fine to me.
Thank you, Mr. Renahan.
Yeah, no questions, more conversation for ourselves. When I walked around kind of the area, I was amazed at all the different types of signage and different materials used. So that may be something we can just talk about, but thanks for providing pictures and more commentary.
Ms. Gemske,
No, I appreciate the updated information. Thank you. No questions.
Ms. Phelan,
No questions.
Mr. Bombara.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just say again, I mean, based upon what's been provided, if it's accurate that this is indeed a painted surface on a sign, which then afterwards has had the application of some kind of I'm not quite sure what it means when you say painted laminate. I guess I'm fine. If this is a laminate, in other words, some type of a plastic applied to wood, then I would say that's not anything that we've ever approved, and I'd have more of a problem with it. But not being able to tell myself, I guess I will rely on the evidence that's been provided or by the applicant, unless any of the other commissioners can tell me more about this.
Thank you. Mr. Sanford.
So I did walk by and look at the sign, and it's made of medium density fiberboard, which is wood fibers with resins. So I guess technically it is wood, but it's a manufactured wood product. And then it has what appears to be a painted sign on top of it and then coated. I think it's consistent with the other signs that are in there. I think it looks good. So I'm fine with it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Hearing none, if anybody is on from the public and would like to be heard or ask any questions, please raise your Zoom hand and Shannon will unmute you.
Just one more time, if anyone would like to make comment, please raise your hand and you'll be addressed to acknowledge to address the commission. No. Mr. Chair, I'm not seeing anyone indicating they wish to speak on this matter.
All right, thank you. Hearing none, I move to grant a temporary certificate of appropriateness in accordance with the application as submitted. Is there a second?
I'll second it, but I would like another opportunity for discussion.
Okay, right now.
Well, yeah, usually after somebody seconds it, you have any further discussion. That's
Right.
all. Okay.
No, of course.
Well, wait, are you calling on me or?
Well, I was going to offer the opportunity for discussion.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Okay. I'll second it. Yep. I'll second it. Just want to make sure you can
So
do
we
it.
have a motion and a second. So is there any further discussion on the motion?
Yeah. I guess as I think about this, I guess really two things. One, the sign is up, so nobody's addressed that. I guess I would ask what, if anything, the town and the enforcement people can do in the future about that. You know, this isn't the biggest problem we've had. We've had bigger ones, but the sign shouldn't be up, first of all. Secondly, it may look okay, but I guess when we say, you know, I think what's appropriate are wood signs. And when we say wood signs, we mean signs on natural wood. So I guess I ultimately am not okay with this sign. And I think that we should be careful because we start going down this road. Again, I'm not even sure how that paint's applied, because if it's particle board or whatever, there's no way that's just painted on top of particle board. You'd be able to tell. So I guess I do have a problem with this sign. You know, I think that the town is good, and I think this commission's been good about giving direction to people about what is appropriate and what we would probably approve. So I don't know what the process was before it got to us. But I personally just can't vote for this sign.
Okay. Any other comments on the motion?
Hey, Evan, I wanted to comment again, just walking around, you know, and again, I don't want a lot of churn for Shannon and team, but I did notice a lot of sort of differentiation with the types of signage, whether it was, you know, stuff was hanging or, you know, affixed to buildings. So I think maybe going forward, us giving clear guidance or looking at the guidance that's already given is something worth considering, because just walking around, it's a pretty big mix of signs you see in that area.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a big variety of signage, and I used to work at 16 Brick Walk, Corbin Advisors, and there was basically a carved wooden sign. And now there's, I believe, a chiropractic center in there that also, I think, has a carved wooden sign. But yeah, there is quite a variety. Shannon, is there anything that you'd like to add on what's been discussed on this application?
I don't have any other information for you. Yes, the applicant chose to put the sign up. We informed her that you don't have permits for it yet, and she chose to put the sign up. I don't know what else to say regarding that. Typically for staff, what we will do is go through, if we see someone that has a sign up that is not going through the permit process, then we issue a letter and tell them this is the process you need to go through in order to correct the situation and get the permits in place. And since that was ongoing, there really wasn't any other activity for us to do, because it went through site plan, and I'm trying to remember now, it's been quite some time. I think there was an ADRC review of this sign, and it went with TPZ site plan as well.
Okay.
So that's
all right. Thank
all
you.
I have.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye.
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 And all opposed, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. And any abstentions? Hearing none. Okay. Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Bardis-Early.
Thank you very much.
Right. Now I'm trying to see. Okay, Mr. Kluger is here. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Some folks got moved around from the participants. Okay, for our second agenda item, Mr. Kluger is here on behalf of Hartford Baking Company. Could you please state your name and the address you're representing for the record, and then please proceed with your presentation.
Yeah, so this is Scott Kluger with Hartford Baking Company, 767 Farmington Avenue, which is in the Brick Walk complex as well. So we began construction in June, and the existing door was falling apart. And when we started taking the wall, opening the wall on the inside, the frame fell apart. The door needed to be replaced right away. So what I've proposed, what we put in is a new door that's going to withstand commercial traffic, which the old one did not. And we've since painted it black. This white image is when we first put it in. It's painted black, just like the old one. It's got the same number of window panels as the old one. It's a 9-panel door, 80 by 42, the exact same specifications as the previous door. What we propose is to add trim on the outside bottom to make it look like the old one. Now, if you look at the top of this door, and I know this is a little confusing, but the top part of the door in this image, these triangles, is what we propose. Kind of like you have cross pieces and it's forming 4 triangles. That's what we propose to do, all painted black on the bottom of the door to make it look like the old one. And you can see these, yeah. That's the old one there.
Okay, thank you. And just before we continue, Shannon, I just want to confirm, I don't need to seat another alternate, right? If I do it once at the beginning of
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure from.
Yep, it's an assignment for the meeting.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
typically how it has been done.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll open it up to questions and comments from commissioners, and we'll start first with Mr. Sanford.
The door is a steel door with the plastic insert, glass insert in it.
It's an aluminum core door, yeah.
Well, the skin is steel though, right?
It's primed and painted.
Metal. Correct?
It's painted metal, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't think we've ever approved a metal door in the front of a historic building. And I don't believe that it's appropriate for that building. I think there's other choices that would look better. I think applying the molding on the bottom, I've seen that done. It looks like a flush door with moldings applied to it, and it doesn't look all that great. So I don't think it's appropriate for the building. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Bombara.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, the bottom line is I agree with what Ted just said. First of all, it should be a wood door. I will point out, actually, the windows do not match the old door. There were, if I'm not mistaken, 3 rows of 4 windows on the old door. Again, I hear you that perhaps this was an emergency, and I can understand you have to put a door in at least temporarily because you can't have an open space. I don't have a problem with that, although, again, I know you guys came in to replace that big bay window. You haven't done that, and that's fine with me. I like the window as it exists. If you can save it, that's great. But again, these things should be brought in beforehand. The other thing I would add about the door, not only that it's steel, is again the handle, the lock. It just it doesn't look right it doesn't look appropriate for the brick walk as well as the entire district. So I do think we need another solution here. Again, I don't mind any. I know in the meantime you need a door, but I would like to see you go back and try to find something that's more appropriate for the district. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Renahan.
Yeah, no additional comments or questions.
Thank you, Ms. Phelan.
Yeah, so with this door and actually the sign, one of the things that I'm just visiting in my mind, and I haven't landed anywhere in particular, is the location can beg for mischievous trouble, and our times sadly dictate or suggest that that those kinds of things may need to be a consideration. So I'll just keep it open like that. I have worked with steel doors, and they can be made to fit in with the design and character, but to the point that a couple of the others made, maybe we just need to take that another step.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gemske.
No further comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hatzenbuehler.
I would agree that the door looks out of place for the building. I mean, as a visual, but I remember when Truffles owned this property, that door was always a problem to go in and out. So I don't know if it's because of the materials of the door, but it never latched. It just, you know, is a big old heavy door. So, you know, I mean, I think security is certainly something to consider, regardless of what it looks like. So I don't know, I'm kind of up in the air. You know, can you find, you know, a wooden door that will be really secure and still, you know, look good in there? But as I said, the store, it does look a little out of place. But for the time being, you got to have something there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
Yeah, I'll just add that wood doors are all over the district and they are secure. I don't think that that's a real concern. And a door could be purchased to replace just the door in that door unit without having to replace the entire frame. So I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for a wood door.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I guess, yeah, rather than waiting for the motion, I would say this is interesting because we have the tenant who's here making the application. This property is owned and he's great. He's done an incredible job with this, with an individual. And I just kind of wonder, he knows and he's gotten plenty of approvals. So I don't know what the process is or who you respond to when things aren't done in the proper procedure. Maybe somebody can just remind Patrick that before tenants should be making a lot of changes, they need to get approvals. So I just wanted to make that point too. Again, I don't have a problem if the door failed as you were working on the parcel. I don't have a problem putting this door in temporarily. But again, back to what Ted just said, I have wooden doors. I think everybody in the district has wooden doors. I think you can find a door that's secure. I do recognize that it's a little more expensive probably, but that's part of the privilege we all have of living in the district, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah, and I agree. And because, you know, these can be difficult discussions to then have to incur additional costs, but if it had been brought before the commission beforehand, that expense could have been spared. If anybody is on from the public and would like to be heard, please raise your Zoom hand and Shannon will unmute you.
There is one, Mr. Chair, so I will.
Thank you.
Ira Hesmer, if you are interested in speaking regarding this application, you may address the commission regarding this matter.
No, sorry, my hand was up and I got to put it down.
Okay.
There you go.
So again, if anyone else has called in that would like to speak regarding this application, you raise your hand and with Zoom and address the commission.
Can I ask a question?
So yeah, absolutely. So we're just taking public comment. So Mr. Chair, I haven't seen anything else. There is no indication there's anyone on to address the commission. Okay. And then just if you want to hear from the applicant again, perhaps in response to commission comments.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Kluger, go ahead.
So the concern here is because we're a food service establishment, this store opens and closes hundreds of times a day. So if we have 250 to 300 people in there, that's an open and a close times 250 to 300. What other high volume food service establishments are under the same guidelines that have had success with a wooden door versus something that's more substantial?
Well, the Truffles was there for about 15 years. And then before that, Ann Howard's.
We have our first couple of weeks, I can't tell you how many unsolicited comments about, thank you for replacing the door. The door was horrible. It didn't latch. It falls apart. You can't have wood. It's a very high volume establishment, unlike all the other businesses. So I can dress it up. I can make it look however you want. I can change the hardware. That's easy. I can get brass hardware. I can get black hardware. But our concern is not having to replace the door every single year. Security, we're not that concerned about. It's a good neighborhood. But it's, a wood door, which typically goes with a wood frame, our concern is there's no way this is going to hold up long term.
Yeah, I can certainly appreciate the comments. Truffles was there for many years. Their door held up, toward the end. Did it need to be replaced? Yes, absolutely. You're aware of that. But it comes down to what is appropriate for the historic district, and being in a high traffic area as well. It would be setting a precedent to approve steel doors, metal doors. So I think that is the concern amongst the commission, regardless of how its doors dressed up potentially after the fact. And if an application had come before the commission before it was installed, I think the feedback would have been the same, and would have helped steer you in the right direction, instead of potentially having to make a change. I don't know how the motion will be made or how the vote will go, but just based on the feedback I've heard. Okay, so based on the feedback that we've heard from the commissioners, and since the door is already on, I would venture to guess that a motion will be made to approve the door under the condition that within some time frame, the door is replaced with a wooden door, or we either make a motion to approve the door, but perhaps it's voted down, and then the applicant has to come back with a wooden door application for us to review. I'm not sure from a procedural standpoint what is most efficient, and I don't want to bias the vote or the motion. So, I'm looking for feedback from the commission as to what they feel may be the right procedure here.
Mr. Chair, may I interject just briefly
Sure.
1 moment? So just to give a little clarity and answer a little bit of question that was asked with respect to the owner of the property versus the applicant for the tenant of the property. So this situation arose through the building permit process, and the tenant is responsible for pulling their own building permit. When the zoning staff went to do the sign off for the building permit, it was discovered the steel door had been installed. And of course, then was explained to Mr. Kluger that, that was not going to be acceptable, and you need a permit with the Historic District Commission. So in order for the CO to be issued, Mr. Kluger has submitted a cash bond to the town that we will hold until the situation is rectified. So that may help when you're thinking about how you want to frame your next steps. So I just wanted to share that. If anyone has any questions on that, I'm happy to address them.
Thank you, Shannon. Are there any questions on Shannon's comments? No. Okay. Are there any thoughts on how the commission would like to approach this? Mr. Bombara?
Yeah, I would suggest that, an application's been submitted to approve a door. We've just heard from Shannon that this, and I appreciate the hard work that the town's done to identify and do, I think, very intelligent approach to it, require a cash bond. So an application's been submitted. The applicant wants this door approved. I think that we make a motion to approve it. Obviously, that doesn't mean that whoever makes the motion necessarily is going to vote in favor of it. And if it's voted down, that means that the applicant has to go back and submit another application with another door. I agree with what I think I've heard you say and others, that if I were the applicant, I would find a wood door. That would be my suggestion, but they're welcome to find any door they want and see if we'll accept something other than a wood door. But I think as far as vote today, all we need to do is make a simple vote on this particular application, up or down, and that's all we can do.
Okay, thank you. And I guess the reasoning is that if the door gets voted down, the applicant would like to receive their cash bond back, which is the incentive to put forward another application with a wooden door. Is that kind of the belief?
I don't think they get their cash back until they get a door approved and put in.
Correct.
Sorry, well, that's what I mean. My point is, what's the incentive to then put forward an application basically for another door? But
Sure. And then the other risk would be, and I don't remember what they are offhand, and we fortunately don't have to ever use them, but you know, what penalties could the town impose for somebody making a change without getting the proper permit? There may be fines or penalties that could apply as well. I mean, I personally, if there's a cash bond there, I would think that's enough incentive. But clearly we didn't see any change in a certain period of time, then I think we would ask the town officials to consider what else we could do to make the applicant or the tenant comply with our regulations.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure that the commission understood and that this is all, you know, of course, on the record. So, okay, I'll move to grant a temporary certificate of appropriateness in accordance with the application as submitted. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? I'm sorry?
What does that mean?
Oh, they're in the middle of taking the motions, Scott, so they're in the middle of voting. So there's
Okay.
a motion and a second, and then they are going to vote on the application.
Okay.
So just to be clear, the motion is to approve the door, and all in favor, please signify by saying aye and raise your hand. All opposed, please say aye.
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 And any abstentions? Hearing none. All right, the motion fails, Mr. Fluker.
So
If-
now what?
It would
Okay,
be
I have no idea what to do now because you guys, I need more guidance. on
Submit
exactly
another
what to put in.
application submit another application with a door that we might approve.
But we don't know if you're gonna approve it.
Correct.
Okay. So we don't get our $2,000 back until you guys approve something. And it needs to be made out of wood, but we don't know, what about like the pattern? I mean, what if I can't find the exact same thing that you guys want?
I'd recommend to try to get as close to the design of the old door as possible. And if it's appropriate, the commission will approve the application.
And there's no written guidance on this. As far as like door specifications.
The door specification is to match what was there. So each historic building is unique. And the intent is to maintain the uniqueness of each historic building. So the door that was on this building should be replaced in kind as close as possible. A door 2 blocks over on a different historic building, the intent would be to replace that door in kind as close as possible. So your specifications are the door that had been there. And the material matters, the hardware matters, the window pattern matters.
Mr. Sanford?
To save him some work, the door that was there was a Dutch door where the top opened individually from the bottom if you wanted to. I think that would be a problem, and that may be why the door never, or at least in recent years, didn't operate all that well. So maybe the commission can give him some guidance as to whether we would accept a door that was a solid door without the split at the top or in the middle. And I also think the crossbuck bottom could be a problem finding. It's available with single glass, but not insulated glass. So would a 2-panel bottom with the 9-light top in a wood door be okay? In my opinion, it would. There's other doors in that same street view that have that kind of a door in it. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
Any other comments? Anyone want to build on that? Mr. Bombara?
Yeah, I would agree with what Ted said. Generally, we're not saying you have to replace the exact same door, and it doesn't even have to be the exact same style. What we're saying is a wood door that's appropriate for the area And as Ted just mentioned, you can look at other doors as well. I personally, and again, we're going to vote. So what you propose. So I'm not promising what anyone's going to vote or nor myself. But if you, had a 2-panel or something like that, I suspect it would be fine with me and probably with others. So I think that's the best guide we can provide.
All right. I mean, we'll see what I can find. I just, we had difficulty finding that, which is why we went with this one.
Okay. Well, hopefully you have some additional guidance now. And for any other questions, please reach out to town staff. And if needed, we can also provide some additional guidance if potentially some ideas are floated to us before an application, perhaps. But okay. Well, thank you very much. And we'll look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Great.
Okay. For our third agenda item, Mr. and Mrs. Graham Hanley are here on behalf of 11 Colton Street. Could you please state your names and the address you're representing for the record, and then please proceed with your presentation.
Susan Graham Hanley.
And Tad Graham Handley. And we are applying for a temporary certificate of appropriateness for our 11 Colton Street residents for new windows.
Thank you very much. So I suppose we can go through the materials here. In addition to what's been submitted, is there any additional context that you'd like to add for the commission to hear and consider?
A little bit. We're trying very hard to match the existing conditions. Well, that's upside down. Exactly.
Everybody just did the same thing. Everyone just kind of...
So there's 2 sections of the house. The original section is what we're addressing. The new section has very similar windows, although not the same manufacturer, but they will look identical to the ones that were approved as part of the addition 15 years ago. The reason for the changes is we've got safety issues and terrible energy inefficiency.
Not for nothing, I'm a little surprised that the curtain, that the shade is not blowing right now, because we're in the old side of the house and I can feel it on my neck.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, just one more thing. The architect who helped us with the addition 15 years ago is the same fellow who has recommended these windows for the replacement as the best possible choice.
Okay. Do you want, do we know who the architect is, just out of curiosity?
He's not local. He's a fellow named Art Palumbo. He's in a historic district in New Jersey, but he did obtain reciprocity in order to build our original plans for the addition. And he's a friend, so we called him first.
Got it. Okay, thank you. All right, I'll open up to questions and comments from the commissioners. Let's start with Ms. Hatzenbuehler.
So just to be clear, you're asking for 7 windows, is that right?
No, it's 14.
It's 14 altogether. Okay, so you're replacing 14 windows, and that includes, that's the entire house.
No.
Just in the pictures, the circled.
Okay, just the front. And the others are very similar in terms of the style. So there's some consistency in the entire house.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's what we were
Okay.
shooting for.
Yes, okay, just clarifying it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Renahan?
No questions.
Okay. Mr. Bombara?
And just the materials, what are they made of again? The exterior?
So they're painted aluminum on the exterior and wood painted on the interior.
Okay, so they're aluminum clad
Right.
windows. Okay, no further questions.
Mr. Sanford?
I read the specifications and it appears to be very consistent with things that we have approved in the past. I think it's a good choice.
Thank you. Ms. Phelan?
No questions.
Thank you. Ms. Gemske?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Hearing none, if anybody is on from the public and would like to be heard or ask any questions, please raise your Zoom hand and Shannon will mute you.
Now, again, raise your hand using the feature in Zoom and you'll be acknowledged to address the commission. Mr. Chair, I'm seeing none.
All right, hearing none, thank you. Is there a motion on the application?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application as submitted.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say aye. Hearing none, any abstentions? Hearing none. All right, the motion passes. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right. For our fourth and last public hearing, Mr. Zip is here on behalf of 24 Mountain Road. Can you please state your name and the address you're representing for the record, and then please proceed with your presentation.
Hey, hi folks. I'm David Zip. I live at 24 Mountain Road. Today I'm requesting commission approval to install an emergency generator in 2 propane tanks next to my detached garage, as you can see on the map there.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other context or additional details you'd like to add?
Sure. Yeah. So why that location? A few reasons. First, it's a generator for my house, and so I need to be able to run electrical, to the house. But there's not a suitable location next to the house, and I can kind of go through that a little bit. So obviously on the front of the house, street side, that's not suitable. On the left side of the house, if you're looking at it from the street, that's actually, and that's what faces uphill. That's actually the historical front of the house. That's where the, like the front of the door, the front door, the foyer, and staircase, and so forth is all right. On the right side, opposite to that, there's actually not enough setback between the property line and the house. So that's also not suitable. And then in back of the house on the rear side is not suitable because there's a patio and like decorative shrubs and old hardwood trees and gardens and so forth. So that sort of rules out all the way around the house. And so, so that's where we are with the location by the garage. And one other thing to note is that today I'm requesting approval for 2 of the propane tanks to power that generator. I'm working to acquire natural gas, which would be serviced and supplied from the front of the property. And so that's why, choosing that location right there. So we can come in with the natural gas, get rid of those tanks, hopefully sooner than later, and just have the remaining propane generator. I believe it was mentioned the commission doesn't have any say over the shrubbery, but just to note that from that picture, you can see quite a bit of shrubbery, and I figured from that side, hopefully you shouldn't be able to see the tank or the generator in those locations.
Okay, thank you. And Shannon, could you please scroll down to the very last, or this image right here? So I'm seeing a Generac generator already in place there.
Yep. Yeah. So when I purchased it, they delivered it, and it was just put there. It's not hooked up or anything. Okay. So obviously we can move it easily. Well, maybe not easily, but it can be moved.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I'll open up to questions and comments from the rest of the commissioners, and we'll start with Mr. Bombara.
Nice to meet you, David. You kind of hit on my biggest concern, and it was very helpful that you mentioned some of the issues with trying to get it closer to the house. I mean, to me, the generator by the side of the garage is probably fine. I think what concerns me is the visibility of the tanks. You're walking up Mountain Road. I know that we had a house just up the street from you where We were very careful to make sure that it was as hidden as possible. I do know the rhododendrons, and they are quite large, and they will give a lot of cover. My concern is the rhododendrons come down, and now you're looking at the side of the garage, which itself is fine, but with these tanks there. I like what you said about, and you're hoping to get natural gas, and that would then get rid of them. And I'm not asking you to make a promise you'll do that, but that certainly would lessen my concerns knowing that that was going to happen. But is there any? Could you put the tanks at least where the generator is, or is there not enough room, or needs to be further away? Or
so it would be tight. So one alternative, I could potentially put the generator and the tanks on the same side, or I could swap them where the generator is on the front and the tanks are on the side. One of the concerns though with that is that the garage has windows, and I'm trying to also minimize the number of windows that need to basically be sealed shut. Obviously that shouldn't have an appearance change to it, but it just means that you cannot open the windows with, you need so much space, about like 5 feet from the windows. And so I'm trying to minimize the number of windows on the garage that I have to have like permanently shut.
when you said, do you mean you just would not be able to open those? You wouldn't be removing the windows?
I wouldn't be removing them, but you wouldn't be able to open them. And so, obviously I have the window, so I would like to be able to open them.
I mean, I guess my preference would be to see them go on the side, although I'm looking at the photo that of the building showing where they are. Yeah, that's very helpful. That's not even quite as desirable, but I guess I think that's preferable than putting the tanks on this right along the street side. Maybe if you put them on the side by the garage, and then you get your natural gas hookup, then you're all set, and you can take them away and open up your windows. But I'd almost rather see the generator where the tanks are, because it's kind of smaller, lower, less of a profile. But anyway, those are my thoughts. I mean, otherwise, look, I appreciate the work that you're doing and improving this home and keeping it in great shape and putting the investment into it. So thanks, and
sure.
Best of luck.
And just one thing to note, the reason I did the tank there instead of the generator is because the shrubs are larger, and to your point, the shrubs could disappear in the future, but at least right now, they kind of hide the larger of the two evils.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Phelan?
I think Jay hit on the observations and comments that I was going to make. The rhododendrons do a pretty good job obscuring them, and of course they are green leafy all year round. And I did notice on a walk by that it seemed it would be tight for the two tanks and with the window there. So that's really everything, my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Renahan?
Yeah, I think you've thought this out well. It is tough just visually with those tanks. So no further comments. I think you're doing the best with what you can do. But again, it's a pretty visible spot, and we're counting on those bushes.
Thank you. Ms. Hatzenbuehler?
Yeah, David, I think you've given it a lot of consideration, various configurations. So I don't have any additional thoughts or questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gemske?
No, I agree. I think you've kind of explored all your options, and thanks for doing that, and no questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sanford?
No questions.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Hearing none, if anybody's on from the public and would like to be heard, please raise your Zoom hand and Shannon will unmute you.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Ira Hesmer, do you wish to speak regarding this matter?
Yes, this time I do.
Okay, if you could please, your full name and address for the commission and address your comment to the commission, please.
Yeah, my name is Ira. It's not Ira. It's Ira Hesmer and
Sorry.
my husband, David Zlakowski. We are the neighbors. So if you're looking at this picture right here, it's that's our driveway on the left-hand side. So that's the first thing that we see when we come into our property there. The property line is not on that drawing.
So I guess a couple things, and obviously I know David has made some moves. I mean, David and his family just moved in, and I met him. I'm Dave Lukowski, a few months ago. And a couple questions I have is, the commission asked whether, the work has been done, at least on the building permits. It seems like every subcontractor that's worked on this job is basically noted on the application, although the building permit applications are open. Each contractor has basically indicated when they pulled the permit in late December that the work is complete. Is that not accurate?
This isn't regarding the other building permits. This is solely regarding the propane tanks and the generator. So if you have comments regarding the building permits, you're welcome to call the building office tomorrow, but this is regarding the propane tanks and the generator.
Okay, because I was just wondering about the process. Are we here today because the building permit was finally pulled, and kind of similar to what was happening earlier in the meeting tonight, where the process, obviously signage has gone up and then you have to go to the meeting to get, then there's a meeting flag that you have to go to it. I'm just wondering if that process, is this falling in the same line as that?
Mr. Zip has made an application with the Farmington Historic District because his property is in the Farmington Historic District for the installation of the generator and the propane tanks. So that's why this is before the Historic District Commission this evening.
Okay, because it just seemed like the work's already been complete. But I guess the unfortunate thing here is I'm not saying that David and his family haven't thought this out. It's just that I think, the generator is close to our property line, and this is a deep property and they have a lot of space to the south. And I know, a couple properties, up the street from us have put their generator in the back of their property, and that's where the generator is. That's where, the fuel source is. And then obviously they come in from the rear into the power distribution system in their house, and they have a transfer switch. So I guess it was just from our end. I mean, we seem to, we have the generator towards our side. Obviously the noise is towards our side. And I guess it's just, it's just an unfortunate situation where, we weren't aware of this until we got a letter to this effect. So that's kind of our quick comment. I mean, it is what it is, I guess. So.
Okay.
And I don't think you're probably going to get natural gas here. I mean, there's people, we've tried natural gas. We've been residents here for 25 years. We talked about trying to get natural gas extended up Mountain Road. It didn't seem to, be possible several years back when a number of us had interest in it. But, so that's another one. So I would assume the tanks and the generator arrangement will stay fairly the same as presented here tonight. So, but those are the comments.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to add comments or ask any questions?
I'll just add about the natural gas. I've had conversations with the company, the gas company, that they provided some rough quotes on having that work done.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the public?
There are no other hands raised, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Hearing none, is there a motion on this application?
It's difficult. I hadn't, now that I'm looking at the photo, I can see the Hesmer's Ladowski's the opening there. I didn't appreciate how close that was. That's not really our issue. We have this commission, and I think it's appropriate. It does approve generators. You know, it's 2020. People want them, need them. So, you know, they should have it. It's a fair question, and I appreciate the comments that are there other places to put it? I did hear, and maybe I'd ask Evan that we ask the applicant, you know, again, is there the south side? I heard possibly, you know, are there other places that you could put the tanks and or the generator?
Yeah, so not without disrupting either some of the, like the patio in back of the house, or some of the shrubs and the trees and so forth.
And then I guess the other thought I had was, and I'm really trying to remember, and I guess I should be the one to remember since I've been to so many meetings. Maybe Shannon can comment on this as well, but I'll leave it up to you, Evan. Screenage. So what if could we make a motion that said approving it, but if the requiring some kind of appropriate fence, so you need to come back for that fencing type screening for the generator, and if the rhododendrons are at any point removed, requiring that the same type of screenage be put up. And I guess, you know, it's pretty complicated, and I know it's hard, and the town has more than enough to do to worry about every approval that was made, especially after a couple of years go by. But I guess I'd throw it out to Evan, you or Shannon, thoughts on that.
I mean, I think that it could be a good compromise. Shannon, is there any reason from town's perspective to be concerned about, you know, either of those conditions?
So if I'm understanding correctly, the condition would be the fence to be installed should the landscaping be removed in the future. And that's for both the generator and the tanks. Because right now both are screened with landscaping.
Okay.
Did I?
Right.
I didn't know if I wanted to make sure I heard that right. If I didn't hear it right, that's if you're thinking the fence should go in for the generator immediately and then the tanks only. I mean, I just wanted to make sure I was reiterating it correctly.
If the rhododendrons go around the corner there too, which they appear to in the picture, then I guess, again, it would just be a motion. People don't have to approve it, or I'm willing to listen to others and we can craft a better motion. But I guess if there's already screening there, I guess it could apply to both the generator and the tanks. I don't know whether a screen would help the potential noise or not. But I guess I'd be okay with the current screening, natural screening.
Okay, so it'll just be conditional based on whether the shrubbery is removed, and then Mr. Zip would have to come back with an application for appropriate screening, you know, or fencing to sort of hide the generator and the two tanks. And perhaps the tanks won't even be a concern anymore if he ends up getting natural gas. But I think that's a good compromise. So, Jay, would you like to make the motion with the condition?
Can I just ask, or would you mind, Evan, asking if any of the other commissioners have any thoughts on that before I make it just
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Efficient?
Sure.
Hey, I just had a follow-up question. Is this generator for emergency power only? And then also,
Yes.
are there any, you know, new lines that now need to go into the house that will be visible, or is everything kind of buried or using existing lines?
Yeah, so to answer that, it's for emergency use only, and there will be lines dug and buried underground. So not visible.
Thanks.
Do any commissioners have any questions or comments on the conditions that we've discussed?
This is Michelle, just noting that the rhododendrons are very hardy shrubs or plants, and that natural privacy fencing could be an effective buffer, and maybe some consideration looking at that to blend with the rhododendrons, additional natural privacy fencing could be something to just think about.
Thank you. And a very limited knowledge of generators is that they do self-test once a week, I believe, for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. But otherwise, if this is just emergency use only, I think the conditions that have been laid out are a good compromise and kind of protect. So
you can program the generator to an every other week, and it's no more than 5 minutes.
okay, good. Thank you for that clarification. All right. So is there a motion on the application?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the application as submitted with the condition that if the existing rhododendrons and natural screening are removed, that the applicant will be returned or be required to install an appropriate either manufactured screening, wood screening fence, or natural landscaping acceptable to the commission.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion on the motion? Mr. Zip, do you have any anything you'd like to add based on the motion?
Yeah, I don't think so. I can comment on the noise. Yeah, I did some research there, but I don't think that's applicable to this conversation today.
All right, thank you very much. All in favor, please signify by saying aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say aye and raise your hand. Hearing none, any abstentions? Hearing none. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Zip.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay. All right, that concludes our public hearing for the evening. And we have the meeting minutes from our last regular meeting on Tuesday, December 14th, 2021 to consider. Would anybody like to comment on the minutes or make any changes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes as submitted.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I can second that.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, please say aye. Hearing none, any abstentions? Hearing none. Okay, the minutes are passed. Thank you very much. Shannon, do you have a staff report? I don't believe you do.
I
right?
do not have anything that needs to share with the commission this evening.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to the historic district expansion. In the fall, we agreed we'd spend a couple months trying to find some other potential homeowners to join the historic district, and just wanted to check in to see if any of the commissioners have had any luck or have had any conversations, and whether we think it might make sense to spend another month or two just seeing if we can potentially round up some interest. So it's kind of open for discussion. Sure, Mr. Bombara.
I think there's two, and the one I think has already been identified, but and I won't say their names because I'm not sure where we are on that. There's two potential homes, properties that I think might be willing to join the district in the Waterville area, which would be nice because it would go with the one that we recently approved or had joined to the district. I can talk about those, but I think there are two there. I kind of agree that with what we've heard from the town staff as well as you, that, you know, let's try to get a couple more before we really make a push to do it. So those are the two I have in mind at the moment. So we'd love to hear if somebody else has some as well.
Thank you. Any other comments or feedback on the expansion? Okay, Mr. Bombara, did Miss Corbett share any interest potentially in joining?
Yeah, I spoke to her briefly and not in detail. It might, you know, Evan, you might reach out to her and yourself directly. I think that might be a way to try to get some more, hopefully get her to think about some more.
Okay, I'll definitely reach out to her. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if anybody from the public is, oh, I'm sorry, anyone from the public is still on and is interested in joining the historic district, or if you know anybody who's interested in joining the historic district, please reach out to town staff or any members of the commission, and we'll make sure that we get you into the right hands. So, okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. And our second item under other business, I hope you all have had an opportunity to read the opinion letter from Town Attorney Robert DiCrescenzo, dated January 7th, 2022. I would be happy to open it up to any questions or comments if there are any from the commissioners, and we can go in order. And let's see, let's start with Mr. Renahan.
Yeah, no, I guess my question is just more for all of us, and just whether we think, I guess my working hypothesis why I was excited to see what Liz put together is just the sort of the role we all play in monthly meetings with asking questions and being involved. And, you know, I think it was smart of us to not keep pursuing legal investments last year, and we all sort of dropped things and moved on. But I do think it's worth considering for us to figure out again whether it's, and again, I don't want to invest a lot in legal funds, but I just wanted to get a pulse of the commission, whether we thought it was a good idea to have alternates vote, you know, in future elections. So I think it's a worthwhile topic. I'm not necessarily willing to invest town funds in you know, fighting for it, but it just more of a pulse of the team and how everybody feels about it is kind of more what I'm curious about.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kemsky?
Yes, so I guess I put together the changes based on discussion from the last meeting, which seemed to represent the majority of members that were interested in altering the bylaws to move forward. I mean, I think we can go back and forth on the legal opinion, how it was solicited. And it does appear to be in direct response to the revisions that I proposed, which I would have liked the commission to have the opportunity to debate and discuss prior to seeking a legal opinion. And I don't know if that's typical process and procedure, but I think probably giving us a heads up that that was going to occur, which happened last year and we didn't know about it till after the fact, might be helpful in moving forward. So in terms of the Connecticut state statute, I've looked at this numerous times, and I've looked at the cases that were cited in the legal opinion. And the cases that are cited in the legal opinion do not have to do with elections, but they have to do with meeting proceedings, which I think, if you look at Connecticut state statute, doesn't necessarily address. It doesn't make a distinction, but it doesn't lump them in together either. And if you look at the language in Connecticut state statute, it talks about elections. I think I put it in my email to everybody, but the term was, sorry, by their own number, that the elections would occur by their own number. So that's kind of an explanation of why I put that together. I don't necessarily agree with the legal opinion. I'm not an attorney and I don't purport to be one, but I do have experience in reading and interpreting Connecticut state statute. And I think it's not clear from the statute. I think and again, go back to the court cases that were cited in the legal opinion relate to meeting proceedings, not elections. And I think they are two distinct things. So I would say that the law is probably silent on whether or unclear about whether or not the requirements to seat an alternate are applicable to the annual elections for the commission.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Oh, sorry, just to answer John's question, obviously I would be in support of altering the bylaws to allow alternates to vote in elections.
Even with what you've read in the opinion.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Phelan.
Sorry, it took a minute to unmute there. I don't have any comments or questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bombara?
Yeah, I mean, I echo some of the things I've heard already, but I guess what's interesting to me with this latest opinion and kind of putting it with the other opinions, I noticed a couple things, and now I'm really starting to scratch my head, and it shows you that our lawmakers aren't necessarily great drafters either, but you really do start to scratch your head. So if you look at the language on page 2 that Bob, the attorney, underlined, it says such alternate members shall, when seated as provided in this section, have all powers and duties of a member, doesn't even say a regular member, of the commission. So I assume they mean regular member. I'm not going to argue that, but I guess it begs the question, it says all powers. So that implies, and I think we give alternate members certain powers. So what powers does an alternate member have? I don't believe the statutes say they have the power to participate in meetings with questions and comments. I think it's completely appropriate, and I'm glad they do. I'm not arguing they shouldn't. I'm just pointing out that there's really no written down definition or list of what exactly an alternate can or cannot do. And so from that, I would say that I would think at least the commission should have the right to decide whether or not its members should, all the members elect their leadership. And I think from a just sort of a democratic and a common sense, these commission members, the alternates, they should have the right to help elect the leadership of the committee that they serve on. And I think any commission or committee member has the right to do that. So I'm going to echo what John said. I'm not really interested in, pushing it any more than that. But I guess I would like to, at some point, maybe it's fair to not ask for an written opinion, but sort of say, well, how did we get to where, or what are the powers of the alternate members? And also, I don't know, maybe, well, I guess I'll leave it at that. I think it makes sense to let all the members elect their leaders. And I also think that the statute simply is not clear. And I think that therefore would give this commission the power to revise its bylaws to allow the all members to elect the leadership. No one's arguing that that the alternates should participate or should vote at least on substantive applications. That's a very different thing. But for bylaws and leadership, there certainly seems to be no reason that they shouldn't be allowed to do that. And that's probably the right thing to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sanford?
I appreciate the work that Liz put into this. Other than that, I don't think it's wise for me to say anything.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ms. Hatzenbuehler?
Well, I did also read this letter from the attorney, and I'm not an attorney, so, it's in some cases, it seems like we're splitting hairs. I'm not in huge support of altering the bylaws because I just feel like we need to move forward as a group. And I came into this process last January, and it was pretty interesting. And I can't say that, it just seemed like it took away from just the general process of helping out those people who are asking for things within the district. And it seemed very distracting process, not to mention the financial component to that. So at this point, I'm not in favor of altering the bylaws.
Okay, Thank you. Well, I appreciate all of the feedback and comments from the commissioners. Where I stand on it is based on the legal opinion and based on the determination of the town attorney. The commission would be violating the law, in his opinion, by altering the bylaws to be in conflict with state statute and town ordinance. I'm not going to put the commission in the, I'm not going to allow the commission to be put in the position to violate the law or to incur additional expenses for the town taxpayers, which at this point is over $12,000. So that's where I stand on it. And if there's any other comments or questions, please feel free to add them now.
The only thing I'll say to that, Evan, is, and I agree on the expense. I'm not really interested in spending our money on that, but it is a legal opinion, and you can, and Mr. DiCrescenzo said it to me, and if he were here, I think he would say it. It is an opinion. So that's all it is. It's not setting down the law. And this commission and others can make a decision on what to do. And so to say that by doing something else, you're violating the law just is not correct. It's simply interpreting the law, which is ambiguous. I get that the town attorney has given us an opinion, and it is reasonable to say I'm going to side with the opinion of the town attorney. I'm not arguing that. You can do that. But it's certainly okay if you don't agree with the opinion and you choose to go a different route. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I would just add that I agree that no further expense in legal fees should be put forth in this effort. And I would say that I'm not sure that anybody in the commission knew that that was occurring last year or this time as well. So I certainly don't want taxpayer funds to be spent on a legal opinion.
Okay. And my understanding, by the way, is that with any commission with bylaws changes, the town attorney must review those changes regardless. So what we've saved here is just discussion for something that ultimately would have come to the same conclusion, I assume. Okay, well, thank you everybody for your time this evening. The meeting is now adjourned. Have a good night.